Egypt, land of the pharaohs, of mystery and ancient magic, a place Sarah and I had always dreamed of visiting. My name is Mark, a humble archaeologist from New York, obsessed with the chronicles of time and man's journey through it. Our plane landed in Cairo at twilight, the dying sun casting an ethereal glow over the sprawling city. As the plane's engines quieted down, a hushed silence fell over us, broken only by the occasional calls to prayer echoing through the cityscape. An unsettling chill ran down my spine, like the city was whispering ancient secrets, warning us of the unseen. But our excitement overshadowed any sense of unease. We settled in at our quaint hotel overlooking the Great Pyramids of Giza, a sight that would humble anyone. The following day, our adventure was to officially begin. But fate had a different plan. It was at a bustling market we stumbled upon him. A gnarled old merchant, nestled away in an unassuming corner. Amid a labyrinth of stalls brimming with colorful trinkets, his place was an island of monochrome, filled with antiquities that hinted at a past too ancient to comprehend. "There is an aura about you," he said, his eyes shrouded under a heavy brow, a smile revealing teeth stained by time. "A destiny unfulfilled." His words, although cryptic, pulled me in, like a moth drawn to a flame. Sarah held my hand a little tighter as we stepped closer. "May we look around?" I asked. "Of course," he responded, his voice a rasp, "but I have something special for you." He disappeared into the back of the stall and returned, holding a small artifact. It was a beautifully crafted golden ankh, the Egyptian symbol of life. "Ankh amulet, powerful charm, believed to grant eternal life," he said, placing it in my hand. It felt unusually cold, its weight significant for its size. As I held it, a wave of dizziness washed over me, followed by a vision of colossal stone structures and a sun-drenched landscape. I blinked, and it was gone. Sarah, noticing my pallor, asked, "Mark, are you okay?" I nodded, although I wasn't sure. There was something about the amulet, something that unsettled me, yet called out to me. It felt as if I held not just an artifact, but a piece of history that had its own heartbeat. I decided to buy it, as much out of curiosity as to assuage the strange look the merchant gave us. That night, sleep eluded me. The vision at the market had triggered a sense of dread I couldn't shake off. The room felt colder. The shadows cast by the moonlight through the window seemed to twist and shift. The ankh lay on the table near our bed, seemingly innocuous, yet exuding an unseen energy. The city of Cairo slept around us, oblivious to our story that was just beginning to unfold. But as I lay there in the quiet, listening to Sarah's soft breaths, I realized that the whispering city wasn't just sharing ancient secrets, it was pulling us into them. We were not mere visitors anymore. We had become a part of its tale, one that promised an adventure beyond our wildest dreams, or perhaps beyond our darkest nightmares. And so, our journey began. Not with the grandeur of the pyramids or the elegance of the Sphinx, but with an old merchant, a mysterious artifact, and the creeping feeling that our lives were about to be irrevocably changed. Little did we know, the sands of time were shifting under our feet, preparing to swallow us whole into the depths of history. The first rays of the Egyptian sun crept into our room, spilling golden warmth across the cold stone floor. My eyes flickered open. I noticed the ankh glinting ominously from the side table. It had started to feel less like an artifact, and more like a precursor to an uncanny voyage. Shaking off a sense of growing unease, I woke Sarah. It was time for our visit to the pyramids. The majesty of the pyramids was awe-inspiring. Standing at their base, I could almost hear the echoes of the thousands of men who had toiled under the unforgiving sun to create these monuments to immortality. But as I traced my fingers over the time-worn stones, the vision I had at the market returned with a dizzying intensity. Before I knew it, I was standing within the heart of the Great Pyramid, separated from the throng of tourists, guided by an unknown force. Sarah, ever the adventurer, didn't question it. She merely held my hand, her presence reassuring, her eyes reflecting an insatiable curiosity. We journeyed deeper, down narrow passageways and through forgotten chambers, a labyrinth within the bowels of the great stone beast. I felt the weight of time heavy in the air. Each inhale tasted of dust and history. Every echoing footstep was a beat in the symphony of an ancient, eternal dance. Then, we stumbled upon it. Hidden behind an obscure, loose stone panel was a cavernous room, untouched by time. The air was thick with an age-old mustiness, disturbed after centuries of solitude. The chamber walls were adorned with beautifully preserved hieroglyphs that narrated tales of gods, pharaohs, and of time. The most captivating sight, however, was a colossal machine standing in the center of the chamber. Unlike anything we'd seen in any archaeological literature or history books, the structure was a perplexing amalgam of ancient craftsmanship and an eerily advanced design. Constructed of gold and an unknown mineral that shimmered under the dim light, it was adorned with elaborate carvings, the centerpiece being a giant ankh identical to the one the merchant had sold us. The ankh on the machine pulsed with a soft light, matching the rhythm of my own heartbeat. Driven by an impulse I couldn't resist, I retrieved the ankh from my bag and approached the machine. With each step, the atmosphere in the chamber changed. It was as if the very walls held their breath in anticipation. I placed the ankh into a slot that seemed made for it, and the room burst into life. Hieroglyphs on the walls glowed with an unearthly light. The machine hummed with a power that vibrated the ancient floor beneath us. The ankh in the machine began to rotate, faster and faster, blurring into a disk of brilliant gold. Then, the world around us started warping, like a mirage in the desert heat. Sarah clung to me, her fingers digging into my arm. "Mark, what's happening?" she screamed over the deafening hum of the machine. Fear was etched across her face, mirroring my own. I wanted to comfort her, to tell her it was going to be okay. But the truth was, I had no idea what was happening. Suddenly, a blinding light engulfed us. I felt a force pulling at us, yanking us away from everything we knew. A whirlwind of images flashed before my eyes, towering deities, armies of the desert, the Nile's flooding, and the construction of the monumental pyramids. We were not just witnessing history. We were being dragged into it. As abruptly as it started, everything stopped. We were no longer in the chamber. Instead, we stood in an open, sunlit space, surrounded by the bustling life of an ancient city. People dressed in traditional Egyptian clothes hurried about. Children ran underfoot, playing with simple toys. The most shocking sight was the pyramids, in the distance, looking newly built, their limestone casing gleaming under the sun. An ominous feeling of dread filled my heart. The machine, the ankh, and our reckless curiosity had transported us into the past, thousands of years into the very heart of ancient Egypt. We had awoken the sands of time, and now, we were lost within them. Sarah and I stood frozen, our eyes wide as we took in the sights around us. We had traveled back in time, our once-dreamed vacation becoming a reality more terrifying than anything we could have anticipated. Our modern clothes and confused demeanors caught the attention of the locals. Their wary eyes scrutinized us, and murmurs spread through the crowd like ripples in a pond. We were strangers in this ancient world, conspicuous and vulnerable. "Mark, what are we gonna do?" Sarah whispered, her eyes filled with fear. I squeezed her hand reassuringly, though I was trembling inside. I didn't have an answer, but we had to keep going, to blend in until we could find our way back. As we stumbled our way through the city, trying to mimic the locals' manners, we caught snippets of conversations. Their language was an ancient dialect of Egyptian, but as an archaeologist, I could comprehend enough. Word of our sudden appearance had spread fast. Some thought we were deities. Others suspected we were sorcerers or omens of some impending disaster. With every passing moment, our situation grew increasingly dire. The feeling of being cornered prey, with hundreds of eyes watching our every move, was terrifying. The familiar thrill of exploring a new place had been replaced with a cold sense of dread. Just when I thought we were about to be overwhelmed by the crowd, a commanding voice echoed through the air, dispersing the gathering. A figure emerged, flanked by guards, a high priest, as suggested by his ornate attire and staff adorned with the symbol of Anubis, the god of the afterlife. He scrutinized us with piercing eyes before gesturing to his guards. Rough hands grabbed us, pulling us away from the bustling city square. We were brought before a grand temple, its towering columns stretching towards the sky, covered in intricate hieroglyphs. We were in the presence of the powerful, and it made our predicament all the more terrifying. Inside the temple, under the watchful eyes of the priests and painted gods on the wall, we were questioned. Each word I spoke was measured, each movement calculated. A single misstep, and we could end up angering these men of religion and power. Eventually, the high priest, intrigued by our strange dialect and advanced knowledge of hieroglyphics, decided we were scholars from a distant land. We were allowed to live among them, but under watchful eyes. It was a small relief, yet the weight of our predicament remained. Days turned into weeks. We adopted their customs, wore their clothes, and learned their ways. The looming pyramids, a beacon of mystery and grandeur, were a constant reminder of the unknown machine hidden beneath, our only hope of returning home. Our nights were consumed by hushed conversations and plans. We needed to get back to the machine, but it was nearly impossible. The pyramids were a sacred ground, heavily guarded, and only accessible to the pharaoh and high priests. As the reality of our situation set in, the initial terror gave way to a different kind of fear. We were trapped in a time that was not ours, surrounded by people who saw us as oddities. The threat of what would happen if our true origin was discovered hung over us like a sword of Damocles. Despite our fear, we were living history. We bore witness to an era that modern humans could only dream of seeing. Yet each day, as the Egyptian sun set, painting the sky with hues of crimson and gold, a bitter truth lingered. Our extraordinary circumstance was not an adventure, but a chilling dance with time itself. A dance we had unwillingly joined. And as we laid on the straw mattress in our modest dwelling, staring at the thatched roof, the dark silence of the night was broken only by our whispered promises. Promises to find a way back home, to escape the shadows of the past that threatened to become our future. In the heart of ancient Egypt, as pharaohs ruled and gods were appeased, two modern souls were embarking on a chilling journey. A journey through time, fear, and uncertainty. And as the pale moonlight illuminated the sand-covered landscape, our nightmare in paradise had only just begun.